The King's Avatar, Chapter 1273 Completely Crushed. Audio source, whooshouworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1273, Completely Crushed. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The attack landed in such a simple manner, splattering blood and cutting down Tang Hao's rising spirit. Demon Subduer's brick was easily dodged, while he himself took a hit. How could Yi Xiu only attack just once? After sword draw, the myriad manifestation umbrella's shield form retracted, and its numerous other forms were displayed as all sorts of skills struck Demon Subduer. Unspecialized characters fight fast. Unwittingly, the crowd had started gasping at Lord Grimm's combo. Even though they had no idea what exactly Yi Xiu was doing in his combo game, they could see Demon Subduer being hit by a bunch of different low-leveled skills. From this, they knew that Lord Grimm's combo had started. So far, 16 players had lost to these swift attacks. Among these players included nervous rookies, talented rookies, matchups tactically chosen to be thrown away, and strong players who wanted to give him a try. There were also former gods like Zhang Jiale and Sun Zheping. However, it was the first time Yi Xiu had encountered a team's core player. And what was the outcome? The people carrying hopes for Tang Hao were quickly disappointed. He was no different from anyone else. Victory belongs to Windhowl. Tang Hao's declaration before the match now just seemed like empty words. The powerlessness he was showing right now indicated that he was being completely overwhelmed. What's going on? This isn't all stars. Quite a few people wondered. They felt like this wasn't Tang Hao's true strength. Tang Hao also thought that this wasn't his true strength, but the problem was that he wasn't able to display it. After Yi Xiu took first blood, Tang Hao had felt a bit defeated. His fighting spirit and willpower had taken a small blow, but they were still there. He was waiting for an opportunity to counterattack, waiting for an opening. But there were no openings. It was just 4 words, but what level of fundamentals did that require? No matter how haughty Tang Hao was, no matter how confident he was that he could beat anyone, he didn't dare believe that he could play on stage without exposing any openings. No one could do it. At least that was what Tang Hao thought up until today. But right now, facing this opponent, he couldn't find even the slightest opening. How is this possible? Am I just not perceptive enough? Tang Hao didn't believe a person couldn't have any openings, so he started doubting his observational abilities. His confidence had already started to waver. Tang Hao didn't know whether this doubt had sprouted starting from today, or from that day at All Stars. He only knew that he didn't want to lose, yet he couldn't find any ways to win. Keep fighting like this. Seeing Demon Subduer's health dropping, Tang Hao started to panic. What if I really can't find any openings? Could I be taken out in one go by a near-full health Yi Xiu? In Yi Xiu's 16 victories, no one had lost this miserably, no. Could it be that I'm worse than even him? Impossible. Tang Hao roared. No one could hear him though. Voice communication was only enabled at All Stars. In regular season matches, the competitive rules were back to normal. With this roar, Tang Hao sprung forward. He ignored Lord Grimm's next attack, activating Reinforce Iron Bones, and forced his way over. Instant defeat. Tang Hao's choice wasn't some sort of magical road out. It looked more like a trapped beast's final struggle. Yi Xiu saw 100 different ways to deal with it. He simply chose one of them and knocked down Demon Subduer. The crowd erupted into loud boos. Tang Hao's struggle looked like there was zero brain behind it. You want to break through an unspecialized combo like that? Too naive. Happy's fans shouted loudly. The sound couldn't reach Tang Hao's ears, but he knew better than anyone else what he was doing. If once isn't enough, then again. Tang Hao rushed forward again like a brute, continued to charge at him without any thought. You look as if you've got 100 ways to deal with me. Fine, then I'll try them out one by one. Let's see just how many you've got. Tang Hao continued to go for it, but the crowd's laughter was gradually dying down. Tang Hao's playing looked pathetic, so much so that it didn't look like he deserved his god status. However, when there was no way out, being able to lower oneself and daring to try such humiliating choices showed just how pure Tang Hao's pursuit for victory was. Many people thought his All-Stars performance was disgraceful, but right now, his actions showed he didn't care about that. He wasn't playing for honor, he was playing to win. Unfortunately, victory wasn't as simple as just letting go of everything. No one knew just how many ways Yi Shu had to deal with this situation, but everyone could see how Tang Hao's countless attempts ended with him being beaten back. The crowd stopped laughing. Yi Shu didn't let up at all. Tang Hao might have the energy to keep trying, but Demon Subduer didn't have unlimited health. Again and again, he was unable to break through Lord Grimm's offense. All he faced was an even stronger retaliation. Finally, Demon Subduer's health fell to 0. I lost. But he wasn't as humiliated or embarrassed as he'd been at All Stars. Wang Jiex's magician playstyle had been too abrupt and too unexpected. Tang Hao had been caught unprepared. He was probably more resentful about being cheated by this sort of surprise move. But right now, he wasn't facing anything surprising. He wasn't caught off guard. He was being completely suppressed in a real fight. It was because his opponent was better than him. So there was someone this skilled. When Demon Subduer fell, Tang Hao didn't feel humiliated, but rather humbled. I'll win next time. Quote. He was still as stubborn as ever. He seemed to have forgotten that his declaration of victory had been shut down. We'll see next time, Yi Shu replied. The crowd let out a sigh of relief. Sigh of relief. Why did they let out a sigh of relief? Everyone suddenly started feeling a bit strange. Tang Hao was just thrashing around without any brain. How could he win like that? Why were they worried for Yi Shu? When Yi Shu came down from the stage, the crowd clapped and cheered, but there was a trace of hesitation mixed in. As for Tang Hao, he was the loser, and one who lost miserably, but his steps were firm. Everyone looked at him with complicated feelings. They couldn't say why though. Yi Shu walked down from the stage and returned to his seat. Beautiful playing. You really taught that guy a lesson. Chen Guo went over to Yi Shu and praised him. WuxRWorldAudio.com. She didn't like Tang Hao. Watching Tang Hao get destroyed by Yi Shu felt amazing. It was well done. Fang Rui nodded. But it wasn't easy, no. What? Chen Guo was puzzled. When she looked at Yi Shu, she discovered that he didn't look too happy about his win. Even though Yi Shu wasn't the type to show his emotions easily, his expression wasn't very relaxed despite winning. Chen Guo realized her perspective of the match was too shallow. She looked at Su Mucheng, and from Su Mucheng's gaze towards Yi Shu, she could see worry. It wasn't easy, Yi Shu said. Why? Chen Guo asked. Boss. Do you really think completely suppressing a player of Tang Hao's caliber is easy? Fang Rui said. The reason he could do it was because he was going all out the entire time. That's very exhausting, Fang Rui said. Chen Guo now understood that Yi Shu had used up much more energy than normal to achieve such a beautiful win. Beat Tang Hao. It wasn't just that. He had completely suppressed him. Why did he have to do that? Chen Guo was feeling worried. Isn't a win just good enough? Why did he have to pay such a price to win so thoroughly? Was that necessary? Chen Guo felt distressed. Why? Because I didn't want to lose, Yi Shu said. not lose. Chen Guo was stumped. Yi Zhu meant that if he hadn't completely suppressed Tang Hao, if Tang Hao had an opportunity to counterattack, he might have lost to Tang Hao. Chen Guo looked at Fang Rui, Su Mucheng, everyone. Everyone was quiet. No one called Yi Zhu's words into question. Chen Guo couldn't say anything else. You rest well. Quote. She could only say these words. The match continued. Even though she was worried about Yi Zhu, the match was going well. In the individual competition, Happy sent out Mo Fan and Su Mucheng, who won their matches, making the score 3-0. The entire crowd had forgotten the weird feeling felt from the first individual round and started chanting 10-0. The points in the individual competition were the most scattered, so these points were often the biggest barriers to a 10-0. However, Happy had swept the individual competition and were on their way to 10-0. So far, whenever Happy won every round in the individual competition, they had always gotten a 10-0. Hearing the crowd's cheers, Chen Guo unexpectedly didn't share the same excitement as the crowd. She didn't forget the exhaustion Yi Zhu felt after the first round and suddenly felt a bad premonition. The group arena began. Happy's first player was Fang Rui and his Chi Master, Boundless Sea. The entire crowd applauded. Even though Fang Rui had switched to a Chi Master, he was as dirty as ever. His playstyle might not be well liked and might be spurned by the Chi Master community, but among Happy's supporters, a lot of people still admired him. For a newly joined team, everyone cared more about winning. As for a good win record and beautiful playing, those goals could be left for those powerhouses who were consistently solid. Happy's fanbase was more practical. Victory was greater than anything else. A dirty win was still a win, no. Amidst the cheers, Fang Rui went onto the stage and into the player booth. His opponent was Team Wind Howl's Zhao Yuzhe. Senior, it seems like you're doing well at Happy. At the start of the match, Zhao Yuzhe took the initiative to message Fang Rui, end chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1274 Familiar People. Audio source, wushouworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1274 Familiar People. Translator, Gnome Yummy. Editor, Gnome Yummy. The response that Zhao Yuzhe received was 7 consecutive. He's coming from the master of playing dirty. This sent a chill down everyone's spines. They instantly felt that not only would Zhao Yuzhe lose, he would lose miserably. What is Senior laughing about? Quote, after Fang Rui's 7 Zhao Yuzhe's reaction was fairly calm. He wouldn't feel any chill from Fang Rui's dirty playing. From the very start, he had never thought highly of this senior. But for a thief to play dirty, that was excusable, as this class relied on playing dirty to reach full potential. But now that he had switched to Chi Master, yet he was still this dirty, that wasn't because of the class, that was because of the person himself. This person was dirty, so whatever class he played was dirty. I'm laughing at you, Fang Rui answered. Laughing at me about what? Zhao Yuzhe asked. Laughing that you still have the time to chat. I'm already behind you right now, don't you know? Said Fang Rui. Ha, Senior is as funny as always. Zhao Yuzhe of course wouldn't be tricked by something like this. Although he was chatting with Fang Rui in the channel, he was very careful with his character's controls. He was rotating his camera often, doing his best not to leave any blind spots. As long as you closely watched the opponent's movements, then there was nothing to fear from dirty playing. That was what Zhao Yuzhe believed. Back when they were teammates, during practice matches within the team, his win rate against Fang Rui had been relatively high. The group arena map was Forest Corridor, a relatively complex map for 1v1 matches, suitable for the dirty playstyle. But for an elementalist, a class that required casting to launch attacks, extra cover wasn't a bad thing. Neither character charged directly towards the center. Both were steadily approaching using all sorts of cover. The crowd was also gradually affected by this kind of atmosphere. The shouts became quieter, until it was almost completely silent, and then, the two characters met. Boom! Zhao Yuji was the first to attack. Elementalist Beautiful Light waved his staff and launched a fireball. This sort of low-level spell could be cast almost instantaneously for a pro character. For an elementalist's equipment, cast speed was one of the most important attributes to boost. Boundless Sea, who had been trying to take a roundabout path to flank him, had actually been directly seen through by Zhao Yuji. The stadium was filled with sighs of regret. Boundless Sea rolled and dodged, and with a flip of his palm, he pushed out a chi bullet. He sure has a few tricks, huh? The light of the chi bullet directly covered Zhao Yuji's view. He laughed coldly and cleanly used a teleport. Using this sort of skill to dodge a chi bullet was indeed a bit wasteful, but Zhao Yuji was clear that Feng Rui only used the chi bullet as a cover. The true attack would come after. A teleport would allow him to avoid both the interference of the chi bullet and the follow-up attack. Wasn't that convenient? Beautiful Light raised his staff preparing to fire another spell, but he suddenly saw the air around him rippling in an unusual pattern. Chi Blade. Pooh. Zhao Yuji had no time to react, and Beautiful Light's cast was brutally cut short by this attack. But what really shocked Zhao Yuji was the sheer accuracy of this attack. Had the opponent predicted early on that he would come to this position? And if that was the case, how could a chi blade be the only attack? Of course it wasn't. With that thief posture that looked particularly ugly on a chi master, Boundless Sea flew toward him. In the midst of his leaping, he slapped his palms against the ground, using a landmine quake after that chi blade. The chi spread rapidly along the ground. Beautiful Light, having just been hit by that chi blade, didn't have the chance to escape the range. He was shaken by the chi, and sent staggering and falling over. Boundless Sea activated Chi Flowing Cloud. Instantly, arriving in front of Beautiful Light, Pulse Break Intelligence, Flash Burst, then a Qigong Blast, and at the very end there was even a sky-piercing strike. The Chi Master's fierce attack surged towards him, instantly landing on Beautiful Light's body. The rippling Chi energy lifted his robe, and Beautiful Light looked like a giant balloon as he floated upward. No blood spilled, but his slipping health let everyone know that even if these weren't bloody attacks, the damage they brought was no inferior to any hacking and slashing attack. How about it? A pleasant surprise. Feng Rui began his trash talk attack in the channel. Surprise, sure, but pleasant? Zhao Yuji of course didn't feel that at all. Don't just think that you understand me well. Teammates are mutual. I'm no stranger to your fighting either. The only difference is that, as your senior, I was kinder. Feng Rui said. As your senior I was kinder? What did that mean? That in their previous practice fights, he hadn't been using his full strength. No. How was that possible? Zhao Yuji didn't believe it. He instantly adjusted Beautiful Light's condition, prepared to launch a counterattack, but where was Boundless Sea? The target had vanished. Zhao Yuji was shaken. He immediately used an electric ring, creating a coil of lightning around him. No matter from which angle the opponent wanted to approach, he would first be zapped by this lightning. Even though this low-level skill didn't cause much damage, it could serve as some protection. Electric ring? Aren't you forgetting something? Boundless Sea had vanished from Zhao Yuji's sight, but Feng Rui's messages were still constantly appearing in the match channel before his eyes. I'm not a thief anymore, Feng Rui said. Boundless Sea suddenly appeared, but he was above Beautiful Light. Thieves had the most fearsome tool at their disposal for launching close-range sneak attacks, stealth. Electric ring? It was undoubtedly a useful countermeasure towards stealth. When Zhao Yuji couldn't find Boundless Sea, he instantly activated Electric Ring, because he thought that Boundless Sea would use stealth to quietly get in close range. Had he subconsciously treated Feng Rui as the king of thieves like when he had been in Wind Howl? But he was no longer a thief. He could no longer use stealth or such techniques to sneakily come into close range. Where was Boundless Sea? Zhao Yuji spun around in a full 360-degree circle several times, finally stopping at that fallen willow tree in the 2 o'clock direction. He'd overlooked something? WuxaWorldAudio.com. Zhao Yuji suddenly raised his camera view and saw above his head the near-invisible, silent glittering spirit reaches to the rainbow. The level 55 Qi Master Awakening skill. Qi was pushed through the whole body, and what was blasted out was no longer just Qi, but the Qi Master himself as well. Boundless Sea, like a heavy bomb, fell from the sky. Qi collected around his whole body, thick and radiant, slicing through the air like a rainbow, falling straight down and crashing into beautiful light. Boom! The Qi around Boundless Sea exploded when he hit beautiful light. It wasn't as bright as the surging fireworks of a launcher's cannon fire, nor was it as elegant as the light of an elementalist's spells. Even the light of the rainbow around his body faded in that instant of impact. But because this was the case, the damage caused by this attack was incredibly apparent. The surrounding plants, the rocks, the mud, were all bent out of shape from the pressure of the Qi, some directly breaking. As for beautiful light, the direct target of this attack, even less need to be said. Spirit Rainbow Blast was an attack that could be charged up. And while Feng Rui was chattering away at Feng Rui, the audience could see clearly that Boundless Sea had gotten into position early and begun charging. "I'm not done yet," Feng Rui yelled. Spirit Rainbow Blast was only a starting attack. More would follow. But compared to most combos, which would save the powerful attack for the end, Feng Rui used a powerful attack to blast the opponent first. Afterward, if there was an opening, he'd continue, otherwise even just one powerful attack was worth it. Zhao Yuji had clearly been thrown off by the powerful attack. This was a good chance for Feng Rui to seize the opening. And he didn't hesitate as he blasted another series of Qi Master attacks, which appeared gentle, but hit so hard that Zhao Yuji even felt pain on his real body. How did things end up like this? Zhao Yuji didn't understand. He hadn't dared to say his victory was guaranteed, but he had originally had a lot of confidence. But why? Why was he battered so harshly that he had no way of parrying? He couldn't predict the opponent's movements, but his own choice of position, his reactions, all seemed to be within Feng Rui's calculations. Was it really like Feng Rui had said? Feng Rui understood him extremely well, but he had never taken advantage of this point before. How could that be possible? Zhao Yuji didn't believe it. He wasn't convinced. Beautiful Light stood up again, rushed forward, and in the end, lost the match brutally. "You actually hid your strength even from your teammates." Quote. In the last moment before he fell, Zhao Yuji shouted, full of venom, "He dirty, no." Quote. This was Feng Rui's answer. In the first battle of the group arena, Feng Rui's Boundless Sea used only 10% of his health to defeat Zhao Yuji's Beautiful Light. The crowd was filled with joking and laughter, and they threw all sorts of ridicule at Zhao Yuji as he walked out of the competitor booth. Is Feng Rui really so evil to actually hide his true strength even from his teammates? Quote. But some people were still wondering about this question, including Chen Guo. "Of course not. That kid just doesn't understand," said Yi Shu. "What doesn't he understand?" Chen Guo said. "He doesn't understand that understanding your teammate and understanding your opponent are two different things. Before, Feng Rui treated him as a teammate, and now, he treated him as an opponent. As for him, he probably only knows how to understand people from the position of an opponent." Yishu said. "Oh." Chen Guo nodded, beginning to understand. At this time, Wind Howl's second player of the group arena stood up. Lin Feng. Lin Feng, a transfer from Blue Rain to Wind Howl. Immediately upon his arrival, he obtained the top thief character, Doubtful Demon. Lin Feng's luck was quite good. But he hadn't grasped this opportunity very well, and on the final All-Star rankings this year, there was no thief representative. And now, Lin Feng was challenging Doubtful Demon's old owner. He, who hadn't completed the inheritance of this character very well. What kind of answer would he give in this battle? My luck today is really good. First it's my familiar old teammate, and now it's my familiar old character. I can already hear the cheers of victory. Quote, when the battle started, Fang Rui was already beginning his trash talk. But his old teammate, and the character he'd fought with for so many years, for them to suddenly become opponents, was this really good luck that could make the heart happy? No one would believe this. Nom yummy tn. Please listen to the first 3 seconds of this audiobook chapter to properly experience Fang Rui's laughter at the beginning. https YouTube. B. M5 NQWGSSJKG. Cincogon N Chapter.
The King's Avatar. Chapter 1275. The Battle Thief. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1275. The Battle Thief. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The second battle of the group arena began, and neither character took the conventional path. Fang Rui's Chi Master continued to play dirty, while Lin Feng's thief directly charged forward. Indeed, a thief charged forward. In most people's eyes, this was not the conventional thing to do. However, this was the speciality of Lin Feng's thief. His playstyle was the less commonly seen style for thieves, the so-called battle thief playstyle. Wind Howl's style, after taking in Tang Hao and discovering the potential of rookie Zhao Yuzhi, had changed greatly. Under the powerful push of these two players, the dirty playstyle that had existed in this team for a long time suddenly became more and more unsuitable. Because of this, even the one called the Master of Playing Dirty, Fang Rui, had been forced to leave. Wind Howl hadn't given up on their all-star thief character, Doubtful Demon, because of this. But clearly they weren't going to find another dirty playing thief player here, otherwise what was the point in having Fang Rui leave? If talking about playing dirty, Fang Rui was already called the Master. And so they took in Lin Feng from Blue Rain, a rare battle thief player in the pro circle. Wind Howl hoped to change the thief style to let this all-star character continue to demonstrate its power. But after half a season, Doubtful Demon vanished from the ranks of the all-stars, proving that his ability hadn't been displayed as effectively as they'd hoped. When the winter transfer window opened, Lin Feng and Doubtful Demon were surrounded by many rumors. At this time, if he still wanted to stay in the team, he had to prove himself. If he could defeat the opponent in front of him now, Doubtful Demon's former owner, who was expelled for not fitting with Wind Howl's new style, that would be the best proof that Wind Howl's choice was worth it. And Wind Howl chose Lin Feng exactly because his thief style wasn't like others. So, when facing Fang Rui, he charged forward even more determined than usual. He wanted to more clearly display the new battle thief style of Doubtful Demon under his hand. The so-called battle thief involved a focus on the thief's direct attacking skills, supplemented by the trapping skills, resulting in instantaneous explosions of high damage output. As of now, it was a rare playstyle in both the professional circle and in-game. And Lin Feng could already be considered the leader of this style. In Blue Rain, although he wasn't a first-string player, he still had stable chances to appear on stage, and his performances deserved praise. But when he arrived at Wind Howl and obtained the #1 thief, when he had to bear higher hopes from the team, he seemed to have lost himself a bit. I have to prove myself. Lin Feng controlled Doubtful Demon to move toward the center of the map. When he found no trace of Boundless Sea, he knew that the opponent was playing dirty again, and would appear from who knows where. After watching the previous battle, Lin Feng's camera observed not just the 4 directions around him but also the high points from which attacks could be fired. He carefully controlled Doubtful Demon to move around, searching for a position where he wouldn't have to defend from too many directions. A Doubtful Demon that's instantly discovered. What an eyesore. Quote, in the match channel, a message from Fang Rui suddenly popped up. Is he here? Lin Feng hurriedly turned his view, left and right, in front and behind, above, but he didn't discover anything. Your shadow trap at position 124, 119. Thought I wouldn't see it? Fang Rui said. Lin Feng's heart grew cold. When he'd had Doubtful Demon place down that trap, he'd been especially careful to observe his surroundings. But this boundless sea had still been hiding somewhere and managed to discover it. A trap that had been discovered had no purpose anymore. But the audience was even more shocked, because they, with the omniscient view, knew clearly that Boundless Sea right now was already quietly watching Doubtful Demon. But, when Doubtful Demon had placed that shadow trap, Boundless Sea was still taking the roundabout path. He hadn't seen it at all. This was a guess. But he'd guessed so accurately. Fang Rui understood the map, understood the thief class, and it looked like he understood Lin Feng as well. If the trap had been seen by the opponent, then the intention was also seen through, thought Lin Feng. He could only make adjustments. But more importantly, where was Boundless Sea right now? He still hadn't discovered him, but to have seen Doubtful Demon planting that trap over there. The slight rustling of the grass didn't escape Lin Feng's notice. Doubtful Demon used an assassin's shin cut to fly forward through the grass, but when the character arrived, he didn't see Boundless Sea. Too gullible. Battle thieves are just that simple-minded. Quote, as Fang Rui mocked him with a somewhat personal attack, Boundless Sea shot an attack from the side of the road and sky-piercing strike instantly enveloped Doubtful Demon. But nothing happened. He hadn't suffered damage, nor had he been jostled by the rippling chi energy. Doubtful Demon turned and charged toward Boundless Sea, as though the sky-piercing strike simply didn't exist. Maxed out escape. Fang Rui commented. Escape, a thief's skill. It granted a certain probability to completely nullify the effects of the opponent's next attack, and at max level this probability reached 100%. For professional players, if this skill was to be leveled up, it would be leveled up to the maximum, because only then could it be reliably used in a match. A probability under 100% was an opening. In Fang Rui's hands, Doubtful Demon hadn't learned this skill. But now that Lin Feng had changed Doubtful Demon to a battle thief, he had clearly added the points to this skill to max it out. Before the sky-piercing strike landed, Doubtful Demon had already activated Escape, so this attack was forcibly negated, and now Lin Feng cleanly rushed to attack. An expected choice. Fang Rui was still nagging, but Boundless Sea had already easily avoided Doubtful Demon. He'd expected Doubtful Demon's skill choice, and so he'd had ample preparation for this current situation. Boundless Sea, who'd activated Chi Flowing Cloud to easily avoid Doubtful Demon's attack, pushed out his palm to send the Chi that had gathered flying toward Doubtful Demon. Flash Burst. Directly using such a powerful attack was a common technique of Fang Rui's dirty playing Chi Master, very different from the classical Chi Master style. Most Chi Masters played in a very standard way, using small attacks for a bit of damage and containment, and once they'd grasped the rhythm, they'd unleash a powerful attack. And for Fang Rui, he used his dirty playing to create the opportunity to use such a powerful attack. Dirty tactics, dirty movement, dirty attack timing. This flash burst was the result of combing all of the previous dirty playing methods. Under countless exclamations from the crowd of Too dirty. This palm hit Doubtful Demon. The chi spread around Doubtful Demon damaged him like crazy. Evidently, Fang Rui didn't hold back even as he attacked this character that had been with him for 5 years. One brutal blow after another landed. WuxaWorldAudio.com. And it seemed that the dirty Boundless Sea wasn't dirty at all right now, as he used standard Chi Master attacks and techniques to teach Doubtful Demon a direct and harsh lesson. But the instant that this flurry of attacks ended, Boundless Sea immediately scurried away again, in his usual dirty playing fashion. After adjusting himself, Lin Feng once again lost all trace of Boundless Sea, but this time he wasn't as calm as he was before. Doubtful Demon moved around quickly, changing his position often. As he searched for Boundless Sea, he ensured that he wouldn't be exposed in one position for too long. And so he quickly found Boundless Sea. Or, more accurately, Fang Rui voluntarily made Boundless Sea appear in front of him. A sudden, completely unexpected appearance, it would stun anyone. But coming from Fang Rui, the stadium was once again filled with shouts of, "Too dirty." Yes, a very dirty appearance, so dirty that Lin Feng was completely unprepared. Countercurrent. Boundless Sea used the lowest level knock-up attack, the most long-range knock-up skill among all classes. Doubtful Demon was unwillingly sent into the air by the chi waves that Boundless Sea sent out, and naturally he became a perfect target for mid-air attacks. The skills to escape these attacks wouldn't have very short cooldowns, and they hadn't restored yet, so Lin Feng could only himself search for ways to escape the opponent's attacks. But Fang Rui was truly too familiar with thieves, even if this was a battle thief. Lin Feng struggled to steady his heart as he carefully observed, and finally, he discovered that Boundless Sea had already completely finished his series of attacks. Lin Feng's heart sank into helplessness. Fang Rui was the previous user of Doubtful Demon, the one whom he had replaced in Wind Howl. If he could win this match, then for Lin Feng it would be a powerful way to cement his place in the team. But who knew that Lin Feng suffered so much psychological pressure from Fang Rui? Lin Feng wasn't Tang Hao, nor was he Zhao Yuzhe. The person he was facing now was, to him, the king amongst thieves. Lin Feng was a player from Season 7. He'd ultimately chosen to become an unusual type of thief, a battle thief. He had never explained to anyone his reason for choosing battle thief. In reality, he chose to play as a battle thief only because he felt that he needed to open a different path. He felt that, in the standard thief style, Fang Rui had already achieved the ultimate level, and he himself had no way of surpassing that. But even though he had taken an uncommon path with his thief, he still hadn't been able to reach a position to rival Fang Rui. And now, Fang Rui changed classes to Chi Master. He was no longer the king amongst thieves, and because of this Lin Feng could relax significantly. But after being completely smothered by Fang Rui twice now, Lin Feng had no way of relaxing. He discovered that even though Fang Rui was no longer the king of thieves, he could still deal with any thief player with ease, no matter whether it was a dirty playing, trap-laying thief, or a battle thief like him. There was no way to win. After recognizing this point, Lin Feng lost all his fighting spirit. This wasn't an on-the-spot realization, but a conclusion he'd reached years before when comparing himself to this king of thieves. And now, even if Fang Rui had changed classes, this conclusion hadn't changed. Doubtful Demon turned into this because of you. It's really too ugly. Quote, as Fang Rui sent a final message, Boundless Sea sent a final attack. Lin Feng, this battle thief player, couldn't reach the height of a king, but Wind Howl didn't need a dirty playing thief. And thus this king character among thieves finally fell. End chapter.